They've been around a long time. Still good with the glasses. Solid glasses. Yeah, that's what, I miss it because what you said, we only got one sale today. Now, how do we make it?
I'm excited to be here too. I'm excited everyone's really excited to learn more about bears. Yeah, we're going through yes. Okay. We'll talk about kind of all about bears at the end is where we'll really dive into like what to do, how to work with bears. Yes, I'll probably just stay there, but if I do, I'll make sure I grab it. Yep, I'm ready.
Good morning, all. If you were a bear, what would you be doing today? Sleeping, exactly. So that's the excuse for a nap, first thing. Secondly, we're going to learn all about bears, but only about black bears. Not about brown bears. Brown bears have another name. What are they? Grizzlies. And white bears, and they are polar bears. Today we're going to deal with black bears because black bears live with us. In fact, as I've said to you, some of you, all of you, over and over again, we have had at least 3 verifiable sightings on or just off our campus. So bears are about. And one of the things we're going to do today is learn everything we want to know about bears. And the first thing you're going to learn is don't feed them. Not lunch, not puppies, not cats, not spouses, not partners. And then the second thing you're going to learn is if it's a little one, what do you look for? The big one. Right. Black bears are ours. And Jenna has come from Raleigh. She is the black bear expert for the DNR. A graduate of the University of Michigan. Go Blue. And her master's is from Auburn. And then she came here, and now she is part of us. Jenna, we're thrilled to have you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm Jenna Malzahn. I'm our North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission black bear biologist, so I'm statewide. Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. I'm just going to say it right like this. So I'm Jenna Malzahn. I'm the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission's statewide black bear biologist. So I cover the state for bears. So I'll just get started with us. Let's see, where do I point this? There we go. Okay, so this is kind of just a breakdown of our agenda today. So we'll talk about the history of bears in the state, as well as like the turnaround. We'll get into that. And then bear basics, modern challenges, and then bear wise, how to live with bears, which I think everyone is very interested in. I will take questions throughout, so if you have questions, just raise your hand. If I don't see you, be like, hello, just yell at me, and I'll make sure to answer all your questions. But to start, so this is the historic black bear range throughout North America. So yeah, you could find them everywhere. Canada, all throughout like the majority of the United States and down into Mexico. Unfortunately, let's see, there we go. They were nearly eliminated in a lot of their range, especially in North Carolina. That is due to conversion of forested areas to agriculture, unregulated killing, excessive logging, which is again another loss of habitat for them, and then also the chestnut blight when that came through in the early 1900s that did take out a huge food source for them. So that did impact their population greatly as well. And so this is what, in the early 1970s, this is what their range looked like. And you can see very fragmented, mostly off in like the mountains, in the forested area, the mountains, Great Smoky Mountain National Park, and then also along the coast in the thick Pocosin areas. That's where you generally could find our strongholds of bear population in the early 1970s. Yes. The turnaround, though. So we've done a lot to change this. And one of those is regulations. So we were given permission from state legislation. The North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission was giving like the opportunity to create regulations for hunting of bears and just the management of bears in general. So that was one really big step forward where we could then put limits on bag limit. We could change season length and season start date, end date, all of that kind of things. So that was one of the first steps in the turnaround. Also, we were able to do data collection. So we were able to work with hunters to get information off the bears that they were harvesting and to learn a lot more about our population. And then none of this would be possible without enforcement. So we also do have wildlife law enforcement officers who are able to go out and enforce that it's mandatory to report a harvest of a bear. It's mandatory to submit a tooth, which I'll get into more later on why we collect teeth from bears. So all of this wouldn't be possible without having our enforcement officers.
Do I have to have a license to hunt a bear?
Yes, you do. You need to have a big game hunting license and then also a bear e-stamp. Oh, there we go. And research. So we have done a lot of research, worked with a lot of universities over the past couple decades to learn more about a bear population. What does cub survival look like? Where are bears moving? How are they dispersing out? What are they eating? What is their home range like? We've done a lot of different research and worked with a lot of different organizations over the years to learn more about our bears to be able to better manage them as well. And this is just a nice video of us releasing collared bears, as you can see. Okay. Also, we created designated bear management areas. So back in the 1970s, we learned we don't have too many populations. So what we did is we did create up areas where we control hunting even more. So originally they were designed that there was no hunting allowed in designated bear management areas. That can be a tongue twister. So that females could successfully reproduce and their cubs could disperse out and then grow the population. We've done that very successfully. This is a spoiler. So now we can put potential like permits and like hunts on these designated bear management areas in order to better control local densities of populations of bears. But we do have these throughout the state that we've created back in the 70s to better keep an eye on our population of bears. And then also reforestation and adaptability of the landscape has helped the population kind of bounce back. So these are the same area pictures. You can kind of see the big difference. So being able to put more habitat on the landscape for bears has also really helped their population growth. So to kind of break it down, this is again the bear range from 1971. I will want to make a note for all of you guys. This is based off of evidence of breeding females. So you can find bears outside of these areas as we go through like the years. You can find bears outside of the areas. You can find males. They're generally dispersing males. You don't have a population until you have breeding females. So that's why they would not be included in this range, these range maps. But this is for 1971. 1981, you can kind of see it's a little bit of growth. 1991, 2001, and this is our current map right now. So you can see kind of the growth. I'm currently working on updating this map, so there will be even more of a difference. There will be some more colors throughout. It hasn't changed too much. We're looking at this map is probably about like 60% of the state. We're probably looking now at like 65, 70% of the state. So the expansion rate has declined over the years, which, I mean, is okay. Bears are doing really great, as you can see. They have, from 1971 to now, they have expanded, and we have a very healthy and sustainable population throughout the state now, which is really, really exciting. So yeah, this is the status of our black bears in North Carolina currently. So this is based off of those teeth we get from hunters. So if you harvest a bear, you're required to submit a premolar, and we use that premolar, we send it off to a lab, and you're able to age a bear that way. So every year, a bear makes a setenium deposit in the tooth, and so it's basically like counting rings in a tree. So you can do that for bears. You can figure out how old a bear is, and then we use the ages of bears and the sex of bears into a population model. We pop that in, and we can figure out how many bears we had on the landscape 3 years previous. It's the best confidence interval for that. So for 2020, we had 17,000 to 19,000 bears in North Carolina. So very good population. But yeah, this is kind of a breakdown. The mountains is the green and the coast is the blue. So actually, a lot of people are surprised by this. We have more bears on the coast than we do in the mountains. A lot higher density. But let's see. Okay, so now we're going to go into kind of bear biology basics. So for black bears, they give birth in January, February. Black bears do have something called delayed implementation. So they breed over the summer, but a female doesn't become pregnant until like November, December. The egg and the sperm kind of meet up and make a zygote, and then just like hangs out in free-for-all until a certain photo period happens, and then it inserts as long as the female is healthy. And then she has a 60-day gestation and pops out itty-bitty cub, like weigh about 8 to 12 ounces, like you're looking like a stick of butter size. So if you think of like how big a bear can be, they're giving birth to itty-bitty size cubs. They do that in the den, and then mom is basically their sole protector for the first couple months of their life, and their sole source of food and everything like that. Yes?
When is the hunting season? I'm just wondering how it fits with this.
Yeah, so that's a great question. She asked when the hunting season is. So we have 3 different bear management units. We have the mountains, the Piedmont, and the coast, and so it can change, and it will change depending on that, especially the coast has different zones. But generally it runs in October till January 1st. And it is illegal. Potentially, yes. Usually they are denned up before then, and it is illegal to kill a female who has cubs with her, though. So if she had cubs in the landscape with her, those bears are safe. And it's also illegal to kill a bear under 75 pounds. So there's some of the regulations we have in place. But it could be potential. It'd be very early stages, but yes, very potential. Yes?
How long do they usually live?
A bear? Ooh, that's a great question. It changes if you do have, like, if you can hunt on the landscape, that will obviously change, like, the average age you can have for bears. So in North Carolina, bears can live up to, I think the record is, I want to say 28 years old in Minnesota. I think they had a female that they had a DPS collared for years and years and years. I think she was like about 28, but they can live a very long time. Our oldest on record was, I think I had that in this presentation. I think we had a 26-year-old who was harvested, and I think that's one of our oldest we've had in North Carolina. Average is probably, you're looking at like 10 years old, but yeah, they can live up into their 20s. Yeah.
So
Yes.
if they're not harvested, as you said, what would be,
Yeah, so in North Carolina, the second most, okay, so I'll repeat your question. So her question was, if we didn't harvest any bears, we didn't have a hunting season, what would kill bears? So depends on a lot of things. Bears don't have too many predators in North Carolina, or black bears don't. I mean, other bears can kill bears, especially males with cubs. Males could kill cubs. The second most like leading cause of mortality in North Carolina is vehicle collisions, as well. We do have like depredations and like illegal kind of means of bears being killed. So there are a variety, but they would be pretty okay. Their population would probably keep increasing and increasing if there was available habitat for them. So that would be the kind of food, and habitat would be generally kind of the limiting factor for bears if we didn't have hunting. And there is a lot. We'll get into it too, especially because humans now play a part into it with food in particular. So it's helping bears a little bit too much in some cases. But yeah, there's a question over here. Okay, I thought I saw a hand. Okay. But yes, and then so for bears, females give birth in the den, and then the cubs do stay with their mom for a year and a half. So they'll stay until the next May or June, when she eventually like kicks them to the curb and is like, okay, enough is enough. Please go away. I've had enough of you. And yeah, litter size can be 1 to 3. It can be as high as, I think record was 6 from Pennsylvania. Yes, it's a lot of cubs. Yes, you had a question.
I hate to sound stupid, but what's a den?
Oh, great segue. Really great segue. We're about to get into it. Because, yeah, there's a bunch of a lot of times when people think of a bear den, you think of like a cave.
Right.
Bears can use a whole bunch of things, and that is actually the next couple slides. So I'm really glad you asked that question. So this is a bear den right here. They can use a variety of different means. This is a brush pile right here. And we'll see inside. There's a sedated female bear. This is from North Carolina, but yeah, they can use a variety of different things. They just need to be kind of secluded from the elements is generally what they're looking for. And you're not always going to have, like, a bear is not going to be able to have a cave on the coast. So they're going to have to kind of be a little bit more adaptable. So brush piles, great for bears. Tree dens. They can use a live tree or a snag as well. So like this is inside a tree den, right there. Sedated again, females sedated. Also can use it's kind of like an excavation. It's a root ball of a tree got knocked over, you can see, and then here is, oh wait. There's inside. So this one's a little bit more exposed to the elements, but as long as the female, or any bear, because it could be female and males. All these pictures are going to be females right now because it was for a project. But you can have males, and they'll den in kind of like the same areas as long as they are protected mainly from the elements and are keeping warm. They will den pretty much anywhere. We also have, let's see, maybe. Okay, this is from my master's project when I worked in Alabama. We do have, watch the video, is really what you want to watch. We do have ground ends in North Carolina, though, as well. So the video will eventually zoom out. But a ground end is just, you think of a turkey nest, but bear size. So that's all it is. It's not very exciting. But it generally is in very, very, very thick habitat. So you can walk right on by and not even know that that was there, which is kind of the point. But let's see. And then we have some caves too. So you can see the opening is very small. Like you can see those like water bottles right next to it. And here's the bear, maybe inside. There we go. Oh. I don't know how that, I'm pressing it too much. Okay. You're gonna sneak peek right now. Okay, there's inside. And then also bears can use, don't want to press it too much. Bears can also use anthropogenic places like houses and things like that. So bears don't actually have collarbones. So if their head fits, they can fit their entire body in. So that's why they can go fit into crawl spaces, under houses, and under decks and things like that. So that's why you have like, out in California, I think recently they had it was 500-pound male bear under someone's house causing damage. That's because that's how they can fit. Okay, try again.
Will a bear claim a den and keep it?
They will use it. They can reuse dens. It's not very common, but they can reuse dens. For like houses and things like that, they may. Caves, they may, but like ground dens are probably not going to, just because the habitat will change a lot throughout the year. My goodness. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is an example of kind of an anthropogenic source, but this is just a shed that got swept away in a flood that a bear then used. But let's see if I can keep moving on.
Excuse me.
Yes, sorry.
You mentioned about being swept away in the flood.
Mhm.
Do you have an assessment after Helene and the mountains?
Yeah, so we actually, perfect, okay. Every year, we release orphaned rehabbed bear cubs back into the wild, and we GPS collar them. And so actually, we had a release of, I want to say it was 5 GPS bear collars before Helene hit. So we had a really great way of tracking, because like these bears had just been put back on the landscape. They were, 8 months old at that time. All survived. They just bedded down, then got back up afterwards, and then went about their life, and then eventually denned up a little bit even further afterwards. So yeah, as far as we know, there wasn't really a big impact for bears. I will say, like, there's a great bear population in Florida who gets hit with hurricanes more often than we do, and they're completely fine. What actually probably happened is the hurricane may have helped bears and knocked down trees, so it brought a lot of acorn and food sources down closer to the ground. It also created a lot more denning areas available because it knocked down all those trees and kind of created like brush piles and things. So it may have honestly helped them a bit in the long run. But yeah, as far as we know, we did not get any calls of any bears that were like died because of Helene, and all of our rehab bear cubs did great. So, and they were spread out in a couple different counties on the mountains. So it was really, really exciting to see. So they most likely did just kind of bedded down and then got back up and moved around, which is good.
This is not a question, it's an announcement. I have a microphone, and if you would like to use the microphone to ask a question, I'll hustle as fast as I can to get it to you.
Perfect, thank you. But yeah, also here's a breakdown of kind of what cubs look like. So as again, I said they're itty bitty when they're born. So you can see 5 days old, but they grow pretty rapidly between 5 days and 75 days. And 75 days is going to be when they're around the time when they're going to start like venturing out of the den and leaving the den. And they are, you can't see this in these pictures, but well, you can kind of see if you look down into the 75-day picture, you can see the claws. They got real sharp claws right quick, because one of the first things they do and learn is how to climb up trees, and they are very speedy at it, which is great. It's how they kind of get away from predators or anything dangerous. So that's how, usually also if like they just leave a den and mom wants to go eat, she'll have them go up a tree, they'll go up and nap, and then she goes off and eats, and then she'll come back and like call them down again. So that's kind of how they start off. Okay, well. Okay. Listen. That is the sound of bear cubs suckling though. So if you guys are ever out in the woods on a walk and you hear the sound, you know you're near a bear den, so just leave the area. Pretty much. She's not going to do much. That's a good sign. That means she's trying to keep the cubs nice and quiet. But that is what they sound like when they're suckling. Okay, let's see if we can. Okay, so, I did have it in there. So we'll go through some of the oldest bears that we've had recorded in North Carolina. So our female is actually 27.75 years old from Bladen County. Our male is 24 and a half years old from Bertie County. And then again, this is how we, that's the premolar right there. So you can see, very small tooth. It's a residual tooth. The bear doesn't actually need it for anything. That's why I say this. I used to do research, and when I would sedate the bears, I'd pull the tooth out, and I would be like, they don't need it anymore. But usually we do it from harvested bears, so they definitely don't need it anymore. But we take the premolar. They're very small. And then this is how you can see the rings kind of like in the teeth, and that's how we count them. Or I should say the lab counts them. And then we can use it for our population models. And then our biggest bears also, so North Carolina does hold the world record for the biggest black bear, and that was 880-pound male that was harvested in Craven County in 1996. We do have very big bears in the coast as well, as you can kind of see from this video. Yes?
How old are the females when they start producing litters, and how many years can they do that?
Great question. So females will reproduce every other year also. So if she has cubs that year, she's obviously not going to get pregnant again. And it depends on where you're at and what kind of food source she's getting. So we did an urban bear study in Asheville, started back in 2018, and we did find that our bears out there were having, first of all, bigger litters, and then also being bred at a younger age, just because they were able to. So they had enough food on the landscape for them to mature kind of enough to be able to sustain a pregnancy. So they were reproducing at like 2 years old. Average is generally like, you're looking at like 4 to like 6 years old, but it depends on where you are in the country and a bunch of other factors. So they can start as young as 2. I think the actual earliest was a year. There was a yearling, I think, reported. I can't remember where, but it's generally around 2. The youngest you can, and it depends on the health of the bear, honestly, but they can keep reproducing into their like teens as well. And was that all your questions? Okay, perfect. And then let's see. Okay, so now we'll get into kind of more about bears as well. So their senses. So eyesight, very similar to humans, very comparable. Have really acute hearing. Their sense of smell, though, is excellent. So it's about 7 times better than a bloodhound, which is used to track humans. They have about the area, it's kind of called the mucosa in their nose, has like 100 more like sensors than humans do. So they have a really, really excellent sense of smell. They can smell up from a mile to 20 miles away, depending on wind and habitat and topography and all of that. So if you're out like side grilling, a bear could smell that. Could smell your bird seed you're putting out, things like that. And then another important thing is black bears do have a strong homing instinct, though. So that is why we as a state do not relocate bears. It's because they have such a strong homing instinct, so generally their first kind of once they are relocated, the first thing to do is get back to where they know home is. So they'll kind of and then they generally kind of cross a lot of roads and different challenges that could not really go well for them. So I do also have a very strong homing instinct.
Does that mean that if we've had 3 sightings here, that we have bears in residence?
Not necessarily. It could be just dispersing bears. So bears that have been like kicked out by mom, younger bears that are searching for a home range. They're trying to find some place to call home, and they're generally younger bears. They're generally males that are kicked out of the area by first their mom and then also other dominant bears, like other dominant males, are like go away, and so they're kind of scooch to the edges, and then they are just trying to look and try to find a place to kind of call home. So not necessarily, but that's a very good question. And then, yeah, so we're going to get into more about living with bears. We're going to go into bear behavior now. So seeing a bear is not scary. It's not a cause for alarm. You should definitely tell people, but you don't have to be worried necessarily for your safety. Especially female with cubs. A lot of times people are like, oh, don't mess with a female with cubs. I mean, don't do it. But also you don't have to be concerned for your safety. Black bears are different than grizzly bears, and grizzly bears are generally more on the offensive side. Black bears are more on the defensive side. So oftentimes you see bears, you can just, if you're from a safe distance, you can just watch them and have a great time just viewing bears in general. Because they will, come up anywhere. They really don't have any. But things to look out for when you do see a bear is, one, curiosity. So if you see a bear stand up, a lot of times people think it's a sign of aggression. For black bears, it is not. So again, we said that they have a really good sense of hearing and a really good sense of their nose. So let's say you're outside kind of gardening, and you're usually bent over, and then out of the corner of your eye, you see this black thing. You're like, what is that? What do? You stand up, you look over to make sure, like, is that a bear? Like, what am I looking at? Oh no, it's just my neighbor's like fat black lab. Like, you're fine. But that's the same reaction a bear is gonna have. They'll see you and they'll be like, what is that? I don't know what this is. And so they're gonna put their good senses up at a higher level to be able to try to get a better understanding of what you are. So that's what this bear is doing right here. Its ears up, nose is up. It's just trying to figure out, like, what are you? What am I looking at? And so they stand upright to do that. I also like to point out, they're not bipeds. They're not really great at running on 2 legs. So if you look at this and then you try to imagine it like running at you, it's not gonna go very well. So this is just a sign of curiosity for bears. And also kind of a great thing about black bears in general is that they are conflict avoidant. So their first kind of things they're gonna do, they're gonna run, they're gonna hide, they're gonna climb. So this is a video taken from downtown Asheville. As you can see, the bear is pretty much cornered. What is it trying to do? It's trying to get away, and it's climbing. It's not going at the people recording it. It's just trying to get away. It's going to run into more people, if you can see them in that little window right there. But the bear is not doing anything. He's just trying to get away and get out of the area. That's what a black bear's like first kind of reaction is going to be, as long as there's an escape route available for them. And you can see for this bear, way up in the tree. I don't know if you can see that down there. It's up the tree and it's hiding up the tree because of an orange tabby cat. So that is what scared it, up the tree. So they're generally very conflict avoidant. But I will say, bears also are great in showing you like that they're stressed. They're really kind of forgetting the word I'm looking for. They're very obvious in showing you, as long as you know what the signs to look for, what they're feeling, basically. They're very expressive, that's the word I was looking for. So these are kind of the escalating stress behaviors you'll see in a bear. So you have vocalizations, you have a moan, a huff, a woof, yawning, just like your dogs. When they yawn a lot, sign of stress. Ears back, popping of jaws, bluff charges, and that's obviously escalation. So we'll go through a little bit more of those. Maybe. I don't want to press it too much, so in case it skips forward a whole bunch. Aha! So that was a video, or just like a sound of huffing and popping its jaw. So if you hear that sound, back away from the area, give that bear space. You may not see the bear, but the bear sees you, and it's telling you, you're too close to me, so you just need to back up and give it space. But yeah, so that is the vocalization of jaw popping and huffing. And then yawning and ears back, you can kind of see in these visual, like these pictures, kind of what that looks like in bears. And those are all signs of stress. That all means, please leave me alone, please back up, get out of my way. They're agitated and nervous then. And then it could escalate to ground stomps and slaps, ground, and a bluff charge, which you'll see here. So, yes.
Not the least bit afraid of us.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. Now, people will have bears as kind of like as pets, but domestication overall takes multiple like generations, and generally you kind of see changes in. You just kind of you breed for it. So generally people aren't doing that when they get a bear, and we'll get into it more too. As like bears get habituated to people, you stop being able to, their behaviors will change and you can't read them as well. And that's when it becomes dangerous because they're not gonna show you these like visualizations of their stress. Because they're used to people anymore, so they're not gonna outwardly show those. And that's when it can become dangerous. But no, there hasn't been anybody who's like successfully domesticated a bear. Successfully is the key word there. People will be like, I have, but not successfully. But yeah, so this video was, as you saw, it's used normally when you come across a bear, it is very easy because they're conflict avoidant to scare the bear away. Clapping, yelling, the bear would generally run. As you can see here, that bear didn't. It then ground slammed and bluff charged her. That is because there's a food source there. That bear's not going nowhere. It's eaten. It has something to defend now, so it's not going to leave the area. So what you would do and you should do in this situation is leave the bear alone, back up, let it eat its fill, probably be a little bit destructive in there, but unfortunately it was unsecured, the food was unsecured, and then what you're going to do is after the bear has left, go in and secure it. It's not safe at this point for you to try to scare the bear away because it has a place. It has something to defend, and it's not going to go anywhere. So what you want to do is just leave the bear alone, come back later, and then secure everything up so that you don't have a repeat kind of offense. Because bears are very kind of similar to dogs in a sense. Like if I'm walking my dog, and one day she finds like a chicken nugget in a bush, she's going to eat that, and then every time we pass that bush for like the next 5 years, she's going to go to that bush thinking it's a chicken nugget bush. That is similar for bears. Once they find a source of food somewhere, they're gonna be like, aha, I know where this is. And they'll try to keep coming back until eventually like it doesn't work, pretty much. And then maybe they'll eventually give up. But yeah, so these are kind of the signs that show you a bear is agitated and nervous and how it escalates from there. And yeah, now we're gonna get in a little bit into just diet in general for bears. So, bears in the spring, when they're coming out of the den, they are going to need a lot of kind of protein. So their diet changes as like the seasons change and food sources change. But when they're coming out of the den, they were in hibernation, they weren't eating anything, they're gonna need a lot of protein. And so they first do a lot of high intake of insects and forbs and grasses. So this bear right here was digging in a termite mound. And that bear right there is eating some vegetation. When I was doing my master's project in Alabama, I one time caught a female and I was gonna collar her, put a GPS collar on her, and then I was finding wasps in her fur around her neck. And I was like, oh, they had died because they suffocated in her fur. And I was like, what? I picked out so many. And I was like, oh, I know what you were eating earlier, eating the larva from a wasp nest, which was very interesting to find. I was really surprised. But yeah, so their diet will change. We'll go into summer. So here they're going to do a lot of high intake of soft mast and fruit, and you can really see that a lot in their scat. It's generally all berry seeds. And I know when I was working in Alabama and like kind of tracking bears, females with cubs in particular, they would just stay for days in a blackberry patch. That's where I'd always find them. And then as we move, we'll see. Move to fall. This is when they're going to do a lot of a high intake of hard mass of acorns and fruits. This year in particular, we do hard mass surveys every year, and we had a really great white oak year. So they put out just a lot of acorns, the chestnuts and white oaks did in that group, and those are kind of their favorites to me. So they have been eating good out west. The very least. Yeah, they'll go up and they'll just climb the tree and pick them off. Acorns are also really great for the fall too for bears. So generally in like the spring and summer, bears are going to need about like 3,000, 5,000 calories a day. When you go to fall, bears now need 20,000 calories a day because they're going to hyperphagia where they need to fatten up for fall, for like hibernation. So they need to put on and pack on the pounds so they can successfully survive hibernation. And so acorns are really great because they're high in fat and it really kind of helps them. So that's the kind of source of food that they really look for. A lot of species do, but bears do as well. Yeah, so overall, bears naturally eat. It's honestly 80% plants for black bears. Then you'll have insects for about 16%, animals about 3%, and then other for about 1%. That can change depending on like what population you're looking at and what time of year. Black bears can be predators for fawns, like white-tailed deer fawns in the early spring. But this is kind of generally is the breakdown of what you're looking for and what bears are looking for out in the wild too. And so plants, it's also going to include your berries, your fruits, and your acorns. That's all included there. Yeah.
When you say animal, I see you have a picture of chickens.
Yes.
Size-wise, what do you mean?
Whatever they can get easily. So they'll go for chickens. We've had a bear out west kill goats before. Bears kill goats before. Yeah, it kind of just depends on what is available for them.
Say a cat or a small dog or something.
They could, yeah. They generally, so dogs and bears don't get along generally at all. But it's usually not a source of food for them. It's usually an annoyance to them, and they're just trying to end the annoyance. And it's usually also like if a dog, generally dogs and cats will chase bears, and bears are only going to put up with that for so long, and then they're going to turn around and swat, basically, to be like, okay, stop it. Like, and now this is bothering me, and I am bigger than you, kind of thing. But they're generally not super source of prey. Yes.
Just a comment. Now, I've been in Gatlinburg.
Mhm.
Black bears came downtown
Mhm.
to try to get into the garbage.
Mhm.
And of course, people didn't go out. They went in and called the police and came and doot, 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 doot. And the bear said, I don't want to go. I want whatever's in the bin.
Mhm.
But they eventually left. And then I was in Asheville
Mhm.
this summer with family in a cabin. And there were several big cabins, but they had the garbage bins there.
Yep.
And the bears were trying to come and get in. And after we came back home, my sister said, oh, there was a black bear in the backyard this morning, walking through. So they're really, you just really have to watch yourself. Because they are going to come in wherever you are, like you're saying.
Yes.
Food.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to get, that's actually, again, a great segue. We're getting more into food in human sources of food for bears too, and why they might go for that, comparing to their natural food sources and things like that, and what to do if, like, for your trash cans, how to protect your stuff. So that's actually a really great segue. So bears will eat anything available though. So they will eat natural food sources. If there's human food sources available too, they'll eat those as well. They're not really picky. They have their preferences, but as long as it fills their stomach, they'll go for it. So yeah, as you can see here, dog food, bird seed, a picnic, trash, they'll kind of go for anything. Let's see. Maybe. Okay, so now we can play a fun game. What would you eat? So we got quite a bunch of different options. Yeah, so 7.5 cups of dog food, 1 pound of black oil sunflower seeds, 3 pounds of corn, or 12 pounds of blueberries. That is the same amount of calories for a bear. Yes.
Some years ago, I was traveling through Vanceboro in a train town, and a black bear had been shot
Mm-hmm.
at a dumpster behind Hardy. It was over 600 pounds.
Yeah, that.
So we assumed that he was going to get them.
Yep, that would not be surprising at all. We have the coast has our biggest bears, but also yeah, they can get like good sources of food really easily. They're going to. So like if a bear only has to eat a pound of black like sunflower seeds to get the same amount of calories as 12 pounds of blueberries, what would you choose? Instead of having to go search out for 12 pounds of blueberries, would you just eat the 1 pound of sunflower seeds? I think I would. I love blueberries, but at the same time, finding 12 pounds of blueberries is kind of a big undertaking. So this is kind of why bears will go for more human food sources, because it's just easier. So then again, what would you eat? Donut. I had that for breakfast this morning. So I already know I'm going to eat that. And then you got a chicken, acorns, and tent caterpillars. See? So say you could just eat 10 donuts, or you could go out and find 3,700 tent caterpillars. I don't know about you.
That's one nest.
Yeah. So like it's a difference. You can kind of see why bears are going to maybe pick human food sources more often than they are the natural food sources, just because it's easier. So let's see. And back into the city of Asheville. We do release them into the same county though, or the same district that they're from. So like we had 4 cubs from the coast this year. Some of them ended up at the Mountain Rehabilitation Center due to like we needed to kind of like the cubs, the number of cubs and the space each kind of facility had. We had to like move cubs around. So the cub from the coast and the mountain, I drove the 7 hours with it to the coast so we could release it back on the coast kind of thing. So we do try to make sure that they stay in the correct area where they came from. It may not be exactly where they were found, but it's the same. Mountain bears stay in the mountain, coast bears stay in the coast kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Yeah. So yeah, again, kind of spoke a little bit more about this already. But yeah, we have 2 licensed wildlife rehabilitators that can handle bear cubs. And they're released late August, early September. And if you want to learn more, we were featured in the Nat Geo Secrets of the Zoo, North Carolina. It's episode 7, but it's called Puffin But Trouble because there's also puffins in that episode. But if you want to learn more about our rehab, you can. But yeah, and then so we mentioned this earlier. Another kind of modern challenge we have is vehicle collisions for bears. So this is kind of a graph showing how many bears kind of get hit by vehicle collisions. This is not necessarily complete. We probably are missing some bears because we don't always get reports of them. We don't always get eyes on them either. But it's about like around 200 every year. Let's see.
That's just in North Carolina.
That's just North Carolina, yeah. Yeah, so the cause of mortality, this actually should be from till 2024. I forgot to update that part. But, so our causes of mortality in North Carolina, 92% is hunting. And then vehicles actually just go up to 7%. So it is the second most leading cause of mortality in bears, but it is only 7% of our known causes of mortality for bears. Illegal kind of is less than 1%, depredation is less than 1%, and then we have other and unknown, which are all less than 1% of our causes of mortality for bears in North Carolina. Yes?
I hate to sound stupid, but why would you want to hunt a bear?
Great question. No, a lot of people don't understand. So for us, for North Carolina, it's a very big culturally. So we always had kind of hunting for bears in North Carolina. You can do hound hunting as well. So it's very big culturally, kind of just tradition. Also, from a management perspective, this is the most it's the best, most efficient way to manage our bear population. So for us, we have objectives. We have a bear management plan, first of all, for the whole state. I'm working on updating that, so we'll have an updated one, hopefully come end of the year, early next year. But our objectives we have 3 bear management units. We have the mountains, the Piedmont, and the coast. Our objective in the mountains and the coast is to stabilize our bear population. So we want the same amount of bears coming in as going out. The Piedmont, we want to limit establishment because it's so there's so many people here that if we have too many bears, that could potentially have a lot of problems. So we want to kind of limit establishment. So allowing hunting and having hunting is a great way to meet our objectives and to make sure we have a healthy, sustainable bear population. And so right now we're meeting the objective on the coast. We have about 0% population growth. In the mountains, we're growing still at about 4%. And so that is kind of why we have hunting and why it has a great reason is so that we make sure we have bears at a healthy level, both for their population and also for humans as well, because we are trying to coexist. And so we want to make it sure that there aren't too many bears for people and that there aren't too many people for bears, I guess. You kind of way to look at it.
What does one do with one after you kill it?
So they can do a bunch of things. Bear meat is great.
Oh,
You can eat bear meat. It is, yeah, it is delicious. It's very, very good. And then you can have, depending on like if you get like a kind of a trophy bear or what you consider a trophy, you can mount it up. You can get it taxidermied. Kind of a whole bunch of different things, but yeah, bear meat is actually very, very good. So it doesn't go to waste by any means.
You can do a bear rug.
Yes, you can do a bear rug as well. You can do anything. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do with them. But yeah, so for our hunting season just ended, and these are preliminary numbers. So this 2025 season, we harvested. It was 45 more bears than last year. Prelim, I'm still quality checking this, so that would have been 4,491 bears, I'm pretty sure. But we have,
Establish hunting levels.
yes, as an agency, like as the commission, we do establish, we are in control and charge of the hunting, like bag limits, season length, things like that. So we manage it pretty much in those aspects. So it's 1 bear per person, per tag, and then depending on where you hunt, you have different kind of season lengths and times when you can hunt bears. And that's how we manage the hunting process. It depends on where you're at. So for the mountains, for the Piedmont, wait, are we in Piedmont? Where am I right now? That's a really good question. Oh God, that's a really good question. I don't, because our season is, I'll have to look this up for you because I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. It ends, our bear season ends January 1st, pretty much everywhere. But
Similar to deer hunting around here.
yeah, I can't remember when it's, I can look it up easily for you. I can't remember off the top of my head what exactly it is, but I'll look that up at the end.
And two, Robeson County didn't have hunting 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Very few bears.
Yeah.
Mostly Bladen County, beyond Cape Fear River, from there to the coast. My father was a big bear hunter. Every year they bear hunted, and they killed like 30 bears, and the majority of them were from White Lake, farther down the coast.
Yeah, so for like the Piedmont, all of the Piedmont Bear Management Area, for 2025, they harvested 81 bears. So that's not where most of our bears are being harvested from, is in the Piedmont. It's mostly the mountains and the coast, mainly the coast.
That county that doesn't have very many bears doesn't have a bear season.
So there's a season in all 100 counties. But yeah, if you're going Wake County and you're hunting bears, you're probably not going to have any luck. We have yet to have a bear harvested in Wake County. So it really does depend on where you go. Like, you're not going to want to go sit out and try to hunt a bear in Wake or County, pretty much. But no, I will look that up for you too. Try to Google it right now. But yeah, so this is kind of the breakdown of our causes of mortality. I want to get hurry up a little bit through. And then, yeah, so vehicle is the second most leading cause. So ways we are trying to kind of mitigate that and help bears and try to lower that number is we do have wildlife crossings. So generally when you think of a wildlife crossing, you think of those giant bridges out west. We don't do that. We generally don't do that here. What we do is underpasses. And thankfully, they're actually really successful. So we have 3 big underpasses out in the east, and you see bears use them. It's also great for other animals as well, like bobcats. And then kind of another challenge that's happening is people are moving into areas where bears are also living. So as you can see, all these houses kind of popping up in the mountains. So I think North Carolina is ranked 4th in population growth among all the states. So we're having a lot more people kind of moving to North Carolina, setting up shop, moving into bear habitat. So you're gonna have a lot more bear-human interactions as well, like this. And this, where I would like to point out, this is from bad human behavior. That's how it starts. So going up, feeding bears, hand feeding bears. I mean, really cool that you have a bear on your landscape, on your porch, but also that bear is trying to break in and open your door. You don't want to just kind of be sitting there videotaping it. That's not generally the reaction you should have. Yes.
When we lived in Flat Rock, that was a major problem. Bears learn handles very quickly, and if you don't keep your doors locked all the time, you will have bears in your house.
Yes. No, they also learn door handles for cars really easily. That's why if you're out in Bay Area, you want to lock your car door because the bear can easily just open it. And then depending if you're out in mountains and you're on a hill, the bear goes in, starts rocking around, the door closes, then you have a bear trapped in your car, and then there's all that damage because they're trying to get out. So.
If you've got anything in your garage, they'll simply tear the door off the garage.
Yes, they can. That's one of the problems we're having out in Nashville, is bears learning how to kind of get into things. So this is a kind of a graph that shows our bear-human interactions and how it has changed. So we do have a wildlife helpline that is 8 to 5, Monday to Friday, that you guys can call for any wildlife issues or questions or concerns, things like that. And this is kind of how we track. And as you can see, the number of bear-human interactions has increased over the years a lot. I will say the majority of that line comes from Buncombe County and in Nashville. That's where most of the calls for bears are coming from. So how do you live with bears? We're almost getting to time, so I'll run through this fast. So these are the 6 Bearwise basics. Bearwise is an amazing source of information on how to live with bears. A whole bunch it's majority of 50 states of state agencies fund Bearwise. We put in money to it, and so we can have the same messaging throughout the country. It's a really great source of information. It's all backed by like scientists and biologists. We all contribute to it, but what you want to do, never feed or approach a bear. It's all very common sense, but sometimes you gotta make a list of it. So never feed or approach bears. Secure food and garbage. Remove bird feeders. I know everyone loves feeding your birds, but when bears are active, it's probably best to remove your bird feeders because that is a source of food for bears and they're gonna come for it. Never leave pet food out. Clean cooking grills, and let your neighbors know. If you see a bear, share that you saw a bear so everyone can be aware of it. But really what I wanna highlight is, well, let's see. Okay, maybe. Yeah. Secure food and garbage and remove bird feeders. Those are really the 2 things to highlight. And there are a whole bunch of different ways to kind of secure your garbages, like this video will show you in a second. But there are bear-resistant kind of trash cans and things available on the landscape. They're going to leave. That's not necessarily going to work every time. A bear can get used to it, but it is a way kind of to start. But yeah, and there are bear-resistant trash cans in the landscapes. This is actually Uno from the Western North Carolina Nature Center. He tests out kind of different methods and ways to kind of keep trash cans resistant. So there are a bunch of different things that you can do, a bunch of different things available on the market that from straps to actually just like completely bear resistant, like kind of trash cans and things like that, that you can use that will help you kind of secure your attractants and things like that. Yes.
Keep statistics on, like, bear attacks.
Yes, we do. So we, as a state, we have our BART, which is Bear Attack Response Training that we do every couple of years. We just had one this early 2025. And we have a protocol in place, so if there are any bear-human interactions and like contact is made, we have protocols in place to investigate to make sure. Because if it is, there's different forms. So you can have like dominance, defensive, or aggressive / predatory. Those are all different kind of categories you can have for contact. So if it's defensive, generally that is, also, generally when you have an interaction with the bear, it's kind of a one and done thing where the bear kind of hits you and goes, usually. And it's usually defensive. They are surprised, they don't have an escape route, you're in their way of their escape route, that's how they're trying to get out, kind of thing. And so, but we do investigate every scenario so we can make sure, like, if a bear did have an aggressive or predatory response to a bear, like to a human, then we will remove that bear from the landscape. So it can't have that interaction with someone else. So we want to keep public, that's why we do these investigations. We want to make sure that public safety is kept and maintained, and that we don't have any kind of dangerous animals in the landscape. But that is another thing, kind of going back to bears being habituated to people. When they're used to people, you can't tell their behaviors anymore. They're not going to display normal behaviors anymore because they're so used to people. Like, they could just walk right on by and like not react to you at all. And that's when it becomes dangerous because you can't read them very well. And so you don't know what their next move is. And so that's why we really want to like secure your trash cans, secure any kind of food source that a bear can have. That's the best way to keep both you and the bear safe. Because it's bad human behavior which causes bear-human interactions, generally. And I think this is kind of the last thing, which is probably not applicable here, but another really kind of great way to kind of keep bears out, especially if you have like just honeybee hives and things like that, or you have chicken coop or things like that. Electric fencing works great in keeping bears out. You have to maintain it, but it's a great source of keeping kind of you and the bears safe and away from each other. But that is all I have. So there's a whole bunch of kind of just information on bears. I do also have stickers if you guys wanted stickers. That has a QR link to our website about bears. But again, Bearwise is a great source of information on staying up to date on what to do if you interact with a bear. And they have more sources, like if you're out in the woods, what do you do if you come across a bear, things like that, which is generally just give the bear space is really what you want to do and kind of remove yourself from the bears. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. What a lovely, lovely, lovely hour. Next month we'll be together, and Jamie Martinez is coming from right down the road in Pembroke. Her topic is the home front of the Confederacy. Not what your great-great-great-grandfather did, but what grandmother did in order to maintain. And perhaps we're going to find out that the real price of the Civil War was at home. Terrible price on the battlefield, but the price at home was one that is still being paid. Go in peace, enjoy the day.